What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Black woman says race is a human construct, but it's also real, right? And the issue that we are having at the moment is that we have a lot of people within the race of Africans, right? The race of black people. We have a lot of these individuals who don't know the difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality. And they are arguing from a point of ignorance because they don't know the difference. So you could be an African American and you're fighting for the identity of a race at which you belong to and share with others. But what you are really trying to do is distinguish your ethnicity from your race so that you can be recognized, your ethnic group can be recognized within the race, right? A lot of people are mixing up your ethnic pride and racial pride as if they are the same thing, right? You're mixing up your national pride, your racial pride, and your ethnic pride as if they are the same thing, right? National pride, to be proud of your nationality, is to be proud of your country, right? Which is the construct in which you are a citizen of, right? So as an American, right, that's one layer of my identity, my nationality, right? Which is my nation of America. I'm proud to be an American, even though it's my version of America. The America everybody loves. The America, the dream of America that's embodied in the African American, right? As an African American, I'm proud to be nationalistically American, right? Now, below that, right? And I'm not saying below as in lesser than, I'm just, for argument's sake, or I'll just say next to that, you have your ethnicity, right? My ethnicity, right, within America as an American is an African American, right? So that's my ethnicity. My ethnicity, I call myself black. African American. That is my ethnicity. The reason why African Americans use the term black, because it's a ongoing changing word from the original term used by us, which were when the Portuguese and the Dutch came upon the tribes and the nations that lived around the Niger-Congo Delta region of Africa. That's where the empires who were there were having their wars, and just Europeans got in there and were able to take advantage of warring nations that were warring against each other. The African people on the continent, before the human construct of race, because race is a relatively new construct that we have constructed, right, that we all deem to be real today, right? You can visually see the different races, right? But back then, there was no idea of race. Race, even to us, seems like something that's always been a thing, but race is actually a relatively new thing, right? We're talking about new as in the 1600s, right? That's where race came from, the 1600s. It was a capitalistic tool used to divide the poor people who were being taken advantage of in order to divide and conquer. It's a very effective divide and conquer technique to divide people through their race, their ethnicity, through their religion, so that they can have something that is distinct between each other, that the powers that be can use to manipulate each and every group, right? Europeans are very good at this because they've been doing it to themselves, right? The word slaves come from the Slavs. Like the whole mechanism of the transatlantic slave trade is the way they enslaved and treated each other in Europe, right? But when they transported that to the rest of the world, even though the rest of the world had their own forms of slavery and it was horrible in certain points, it wasn't always permanent, and it wasn't dehumanizing to the point to where they weren't recognized as being human beings. Race and race is a totally different. The transatlantic slave trade was a completely different monster than anything that ever, See, when the Asians had a pretty harsh version of their thing. They pretty harsh, but for the most part, before that there was no race. So when African countries were fighting each other, the depiction that we have as Africans, because since we're African Americans and we view black as this amalgamation of African Americans, which are just a combination of various different type ethnic groups of Africans, who have different phenotypes slightly within West and Central Africa, right? When we hear the word, black, we just thinking about ourselves, because we had to, in America, the only country that does this, everybody has to contrast themselves from someone else, because there's no homogeneous society in America anymore. If the Native Americans were at their full capacity, if the white people didn't genocide them with drugs, guns, and germs, right, the homogeneous society would be Native Americans, and everybody else would be distinctly from somewhere else based off that homogeneous Native American group of people who would have dominated. But because they're not here, America consists of all immigrants. So in America, you have to say, even though we're all American, you just think I'm an African American. Then you have Asian Americans, then you have Indian Americans. But the only people who got to have the title American with an asterisk is Europeans. Because remember, Europeans purposely fought a war to delineate from their homeland. It was on purpose. It was not on purpose for us. And for most POCs, it's on purpose, but because of convenience, because of the convenience of America, because America, went to their home countries, exploited their people, ruined their economies, manipulated their politicians. Therefore, those people come to the country that has everything because it stole everything. That's why people come to America, right? It's a place of opportunity, because it's a place of opportunity because it creates that opportunity by taking opportunities away from other people, right? But so within the black community, we have a sector of the African American community who are still suffering from the effects of Europeans' purposeful erasure of our African heritage, even though it's right there. Like, it depends on where you're located in America, how close you are to your black community, how infused you are with real and true black knowledge and history. Because if you're living in the Midwest, West Coast, somewhere in America where you're surrounded by white people that you constantly are forced to have to be validated by and live with and survive, with, you always got to keep that switch on to keep them happy with you, so you can be the token, whether you want to be the token or not. That's where you got to survive, right? And they tend to be kind of very European based in their way of thinking. They will, and they got a lot of mixed ones who the white people will remind them that they are not white, that they are black, so they can only find love on the black side, but at the same time they can't go too far because some of them are very racially ambiguous. And black folks make fun of light-skinned people. I've been made fun of being light-skinned. Hell, I got an African right now making fun of me for being light-skinned. He's from Ghana. He's so immature. He does that. He's supposed to be an adult. He's still dealing with colorism, xenophobia, nationalism, and he's a African trying to be more white than the white African Americans trying to be. Like, you got a sector of Africans who are on the global stage who want to be with white people so bad they will battle each other. So you got the African Afropean coons fighting the African American coons for white validation, right? So you have that, right? So you got colorism and these immature individuals that utilize colorism because they don't have any arguments towards anything. If you notice, most of the ignorant people who argue with colorism, they don't use the correct terms when talking about ethnicity, nationality. They don't recognize their obvious racial connection with Africa because they're using their ethnicity as a separator, as if because you practice a different culture, which by the way, African American culture is African culture, all of it. Every drop of African American culture can be parsed and picked apart and placed in its proper continental African context. Every single one. But to know that requires education, it requires learning. And we have a lot of African Americans who stopped learning a long time ago, right? And they start thinking they know what they're talking about instead of researching it because of hearsay. They hear it a couple times on the internet. They hear their favorite YouTuber say it. They hear one person at work say it. And now to them, it's fact. So they'll repeat it and regurgitate exactly what they heard and did absolutely no research. But it makes them feel good that they know something, right? Right. So you have people arguing that they're not who they are. Like Cameron. He's an African. It doesn't matter what he says. It doesn't matter what his opinion means nothing. Dominicans. They can say me no black. You can say that. If it makes you feel good. If you're subconscious, if you're so if you hate yourself and to survive in your community, You have to hate yourself along with everybody else to get along with the greater society and the institutions placed upon you, right? Those are still your opinions. But the fact is, you're an African. You can't change your race just because you don't feel any pride in it, or just because you don't know anything about it, right? Now, your race and your ethnicity, right, just because you share the same race with somebody doesn't mean you share the same ethnicity with them. And that's just another layer of difference, which is great. Why would anybody want to be on a planet where everybody do the same thing and practice? That's boring, right? So just because I'm an African American and just because somebody's from Jamaica, they have a different culture than me, even though the cultures do go like this. It's not like one and one. They all intersect, right? Right? They have a different culture because they're down there and their culture is based off the things they went through in that geographical location. But we are still black. We're still African. They're Jamaican, so they can be proud of their ethnic identity as Jamaicans, right? But since Jamaica is also a nation, they can also be proud of their nation of Jamaica. So they can be proud to be African, which is their race, right? They can also identify themselves by their nation, which is Jamaica. They fought for that. They earned that. It's a black nation, Jamaica. And it just so happens that the Jamaican happens to be, or the Caribbean happens to be their ethnicity, right? They're culturally Caribbean. They are racially African. They're nationalistically Jamaican. That's their nation. Now, you hear a lot of African Americans say, well, how come we call ourselves FBA? How come we can't identify ourselves like that? And the Jamaicans and the Haitians can say they're Haitian Americans, or they can say they're Haitian. They can have. It's because they have. Haiti is a nation. It's a country that black people have formed, the first republic of Africans. So they can have national pride. National pride. Haitians' national pride is equivalent to African Americans' national pride about America. So if a person is proud to be Haitian, right, that's equal to an African American being proud to be American, just American, not African American, not black, just American, right? Now, Haitian is also their ethnicity, right? So when they're proud to be Haitian, they're both proud of their nationality and proud of their ethnicity. Equivalent, African American being proud to be an American, being proud to be a African American, because our ethnicity, we are Africans in America. African American is us being proud of our nationality and our race and our ethnicity. So when you say African American, you're saying I'm proud to be an African, I'm proud to be an American, and I'm proud to be an African American, because American is our nationality, African is our race, African American is our nationality, is our ethnicity. Is our ethnicity. African is our race. American is our nationality. African American, the whole word together, is our ethnicity. To shorten that, we'll say black. Black is our ethnicity. American is our nationality. Black is also interchangeable with African, which can also mean our race. So black also means our ethnicity and our race, but leans heavier towards our race, right? So any race, anybody can use the word black because it's also interchangeable with African, which is our race, right? African American is our ethnicity. No other African can call themselves an African American because that's not their ethnicity. That's why African would call themselves by their country of origin, their nationality, and the nationality they're trying to take upon, which is American. They will say they're Nigerian American because they're attaching where they're from, which is Nigeria, which is their country of nationality, right? And then their ethnic group is either Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa. So they may say, I'm a Yoruba American, or they may say, I'm a Nigerian American. They can choose to say one or the other. They may identify with their ethnicity and then America, because even their ethnicity within the African sense is a nation. So the Igbos, Yoruba, and Hausas are actually nations within nations, just like African Americans are a nation within a nation, right? So the Yoruba, Hausa, and Fulani are African nations, once countries of their own, who are now under a federation of a larger nation, which is Nigeria, right? So they are trying to develop national pride, right? But they have centuries-old ethnic pride, which has not quite translated completely to national pride, which is mean being prideful with and working with other nations within the conglomerate of the federal national government of Nigeria to bring out the pride of being the third layer of Nigerians in order to unify, to uplift their country. They have to deal with their ethnic issues internally to operate the nation that they're all a part of, their nationality of Nigerians. Just like in America, we Americans would be doing a lot better if the ethnic group of European Americans would stop doing the things they're doing by terrorizing all the other Asian Americans and African Americans and Indian Americans and South Pacific Americans and Polynesian Americans. If the European Americans, the ethnic group within the nationality of America, if a particular ethnic group would stop acting a certain way, right? Everybody with the different ethnic groups that represent America, right, could come together under a nationalistic, patriotic ideal and understanding that we all, as different ethnic groups, need to work together because we're all part of the same nation. You understand? Well, right now we got ethnic African Americans fighting with trying to compare themselves with African nations, not understanding the difference between nations, ethnicity, and race. So the arguments are not earnest. They're not productive because they're not based off the same thing, right? And people who know how to grift know how to use the nuance between race, ethnicity, and nationality to create straw man arguments, to create irrelevant arguments in order to drum up emotional drama from the various different ethnic groups of black people in order to create the drama necessary for the algorithm to shoot them to the moon and make them rich. Okay? So we have to become more intelligent in our conversations. That's why when I'm talking trash to a person, I'm very specific about what I'm talking about so that the other groups don't feel like I'm talking about them. So when I say African American and I talk about African Americans, y'all notice I'm very positive towards African Americans, but yet FBA, all right, view me as their enemy, because when I represent African Americans, I represent the actual ethnic group, right, whose lineage goes back thousands upon thousands of years, right? And I represent our ethnic group as a distinct ethnic group within a nation. But I also claim the entire nation as my ethnic group, right, contributes greatly to the nation. Therefore, we should not be asked to give up the nation on behalf of our ethnic group or a race. You can both be proud of your nationality, your ethnicity, and your race at the same time. And that's what I've been trying to teach. And once you find the pride in all three of those and understand that all three of those have different arguments in different settings, and you should be representing yourself based off what the conversation is on one of those tiers. Because there's times when I can talk as an American on behalf of all Americans, as an American citizen. There's times I'll talk on behalf of all African Americans as an African American, as my ethnic group is African American. And there are times where I will talk about black people or Africans in its totality as a Pan-African, because at that point I'm representing all Africans globally, no matter what their ethnicity is or nationality is, right? So, I hope you guys understand. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section. This is Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Prepare to be triggered. There are people in our own community who refuse to engage in the hard work of building lasting political infrastructure because of one word: black. Their argument: race is a social construct. And you know what? They're right. Race is a social construct. Money is also a social construct. But you still go to work. You still cash your check. You still pay your bills and pay your taxes. Because one construct, once embedded into the fabric of society, becomes real in its consequences. Race functions the same way. It was constructed to sort, to exploit, to exclude. And it has operated with devastating consistency for over 4 centuries against us. So the question was never whether race is real in some biological sense. Be all the way for real. The question has always been, what are you going to do about the world as it exists? Race is not the same as ethnicity. Ethnicity is about shared culture, language, ancestry, and tradition. In America, when a police officer sees you, he is not processing your ethnicity. He is processing your race. And good luck surviving that. That distinction is not academic. It is the difference between how you're hired, how you're sentenced, how you're housed, and whether or not you end up like George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, which is exactly why raising the question of what Black people choose to call themselves right now in this moment, when our lives are on the line, is not a philosophical contribution. It is just a distraction and another excuse for division. These distractions keep us debating identity while power consolidates elsewhere. They keep us divided, arguing in meaningless circles, far from the table where real decisions are being made without us, about us. Wake up, will you please? Black Americans, which means those of us who are descendants of enslaved Africans, have a story in this country unlike any other group on earth. We did not come here seeking opportunity and a better life. Brought here after being kidnapped and then used as property, as capital, as fuel for an economic engine that made this nation a superpower. Black culture defines it, including the civil rights framework that expanded democracy for every minority group in this country. Our vernacular, our fashion, our food, the spirit that the world imitates and monetizes while simultaneously telling us we have no culture worth protecting, no grievance worth addressing, no claim worth honoring. Lies. The world wants us to believe that nothing can be done. They want us tired. They want us divided instead of organizing. How long you gonna fall for it? I love you, Black man. I love you, Black woman. Knowledge is power. Power to the people.
In just case I didn't make that clear, American nationality, African American, ethnic group with a lineage that goes back thousands upon thousands of years, millions of years. Race, that is my actual race, right? That's Black, that's African. And then you got FBA, a xenophobic hate group created by Tariq Nasheed in order to make money. FBA doesn't represent the ethnicity, doesn't represent the race, and doesn't represent the nationality. It represents a cult, a small idealistic group of people who have certain ideas about their identity that only they exclusively have and is not popular amongst the greater society. That's what FBA is, just to be clear.
I'm so pro-Black, you can't get me to involve myself in diaspora wars. I'm every nigga on this earth. I'm African, I'm Caribbean, I'm Afro-Latina, I'm Afro-European. If you're a nigga, I am you, you're me. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. You're me, you're me, I'm you.
I could stay away just to hear you breathing. Watch you smile while you're sleeping, while you're far away and dreaming. I could spend my life in this sweet surrender. I could stay lost in this moment forever. Every moment spent with you is a moment I treasure. I don't want to close my eyes, I don't want to fall asleep, 'cause I miss you, babe, and I don't want to miss a thing. 'Cause even when I dream of you, the sweetest dream would never do. I still miss you, babe, and I don't want to miss a thing.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.